Hey guys, it's Steven here, back with another video, and today's the one that you've all been asking for in the comments section. Today we're going to go through a very big, incredibly in-depth season preview for the 2021 season. Seriously, I've left absolutely no stones unturned, so quickly go and get the kettle on, get a brew, sit down and get ready for a very long video discussing everything Manchester City Football Club. Firstly, I want to say thank you, though, to OneFootball for being a wonderful beacon of positivity and supporting me through this very difficult time and being an incredible app as well at the same time. Go download OneFootball in the link in the description below for all your Manchester City news and everything you need to know about football in general. OneFootball is fantastic and I've been working them for over 2 years now. They're absolutely brilliant. Go download it in the link in the description below. It helps support this channel and it helps support an app that actually deserves it. So today we're going to discuss everything about Manchester City, basically. I've got loads of things to go through. I'm going to go through the transfer window. I'm going to go through the squad depth. I'm going to go through all the concerns I've got for the season, the reasons to be positive for the season. I'm going to go through our rivals, and of course at the end I'll go through the predictions. And in the predictions at the end I'll go through things like my standout player, my surprise, all that kind of stuff, predictions for the trophies and everything. So basically, do get settled. This is going to be a long video. So get ready, basically. But hopefully you enjoy it. And don't forget, if you are new to this channel, immediately make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future content on this channel. It's going to be home for the 2021 season, basically. Loads of rational, calm, and hopefully enjoyable content on this channel coming in the few days ahead. And also in the few months, I guess, largely. Right, so we're going to start initially with this transfer window. Yep, it hasn't been the best transfer window. It's been so far okay. The big thing is really that this needs an asterisk alongside it because the transfer window isn't shut yet for a good couple of weeks or so. For a little bit of time yet. So far we're judging it on an incomplete essay. It's like an unfinished bit of work that we can't really fully judge it on. So it's really hard to fully judge this window based on what it could be. I'm going to judge it as what it is at this moment. Right now, at this second, the window is frustrating. I cannot deny that so far this window has been frustrating, mainly because it started off so well. In Nathan Ake and Ferran Torres, we signed two players that everyone was like, do you know what? These are good squad players. I can get behind them. Ake is a fantastic player. I really like him an awful lot. The more I thought about Nathan Ake, the more I've decided that he's going to be a very useful player for Manchester City Football Club. He's composed, he's intelligent, he's hard-working, he has good pace, and Bournemouth fans absolutely love him. I'm sure he can fit in at left-back, he can play centre-back, and even maybe do a job in defensive midfield and be great for Manchester City. I've got no doubt that he's going to be a very good player for us. And likewise, Ferran Torres is another option, and hopefully will give us something that we were missing with the non-Sane last year. Sane wasn't involved last year, and it's good to have another winger come in and hopefully offer something a little bit different, because Ferran Torres is a different kind of winger to Sterling and Mahrez. He's more direct, he's a little bit more willing to beat his man and put a cross in and all that kind of stuff, and I've got a feeling he's going to impress. For £20 million, Ferran Torres could be an absolute bargain, but it's fair to say as well, other parts of this transfer window have been very underwhelming. The Messi saga was painful. As fun as it was at the time, I feel like suddenly that's really kind of raised expectations to a level that we could never really compete with. And as a result, everything else has felt a little bit underwhelming since then, especially given the fact that we've not completed this proposed centre-back signing yet. The Koulibaly transfer saga, it's been painful. It's been like genuinely just ripping off loads of plasters constantly. It's been painful. It's been horrible. But weirdly, it's been annoyingly drawn out as well. Dealing with Napoli is just a horrible scenario that I would never want to see Manchester City do again. I don't care who it is. Just don't go near Napoli again. Having said that, I still think Manchester City will sign a centre-back. I don't think we'll address all the problems that we have with the transfer window. I don't think we'll address the left-back problem. I don't think we'll address the need for another striker, in my personal opinion. But if we sign another centre-back, if we get Koulibaly or Koundé or Jimenez or Diego Carlos, and seriously, at this point, I would take absolutely any of them. If we get one of those in, all of a sudden, Ake, Torres and a centre-back, it's an okay window. It's a 6 out of 10 window for me. It's slightly above average. It's bordering on good. I would take that window as it is. In terms of outgoings, Sane leaving, we got a decent-ish fee, but not a great fee, if we're being honest. It's not bad. It's not bad, but Sane's gone. At least that saga's over now. Claudio Bravo left. See you later, Claudio. I wasn't your biggest fan, but you're a good bloke, so all the best. David Silva, unfortunately, hung up his boots at Manchester City and went to join Real Sociedad. Devastated to see David Silva go. But it was nice, at least, that, City did all those kind of promos with him and all that kind of stuff. Shame we didn't get to see him up, but I'm sure hopefully at some point we will do. And Angelino's gone out on loan again. Angelino's a guy I wanted to see stay around the first team, maybe be used again if he played free at the back and use him as a wing back, but that hasn't happened. So overall, so far, it's not been that good in terms of getting rid of the deadwood. Zinchenko's still here. I thought he would go definitely, but I guess not. Zinchenko is still around. Otamendi is currently still here, though I presume that's just a temporary stay of execution. I'm sure at some point Otamendi will move on. Likely towards someone like Porto. Sevilla have been linked if you go towards Koundé's and maybe a part exchange. Inter were linked at one point as well. I'm sure Otamendi will go as soon as we make strides towards getting someone else in. But as it is, he's still here, which is concerning. Stones, it looks likely he's going to stay as well. No real kind of notable bids materialised for Stones in the end. And I guess City just decided to keep him as a backup. Garcia as well. I mean, that's one personally. If he wants to go, I don't really like any player hanging around that doesn't want to be here. Move him on as far as I'm concerned. But it looks like we're not going to get that done either. So looks like Garcia will hang around. Stones is hanging around. Otamendi's currently still here, though I presume he'll go. After that, it's pretty much as you were. So far, though, the window's been like a 4. It's been a 4. It could become a 6 if we get another centre-back signing in, but we haven't really addressed many problems that we currently got, so it hasn't been that good so far. In terms of our squad depth, I'm going to go through a few different scenarios here, basically as it is currently looking right now, as I think it will be at the start by the end of the transfer window, and as it is with all the youth players in. I'm going to start initially how as it is right now, basically. As you can see alongside me right now on the screen, this is currently how our squad depth looks, and it's a little bit bloated in certain positions. Ederson is there, of course, in goal. Zach Steffen has returned now to be Manchester City's number 2 after a good loan over in the Bundesliga. So I'm interested to see how he gets on. He apparently did very well over there. A really good shot stop and all that kind of stuff. I'm not sure he's excellent with his feet, but I'm sure he'll improve a lot with Manchester City's coaches. But Zach Steffen surely will push Ederson, so that's interesting. We've got Carson there as well. Currently, the centre-backs are very, very bloated there. I mean, you've got Laporte, Ake, Otamendi, Stones, Garcia, maybe Fernandinho as a centre-back as well. I'll put him on there just for now. Then you've got Kyle Walker and Cancelo at right back. Mendy and Zinchenko, I reckon, currently are nominal left backs. Then we've got Rodri and Gundogan holding midfield, Foden and Bernardo, and then there's De Bruyne there. I mean, we haven't got loads of options. It could be that Fernandinho plays as a number 6 this season, given the centre-back options we've got, with Gundogan then playing as an 8, and I hope that doesn't happen because I'd be devastated because Gundogan doesn't have the pace, but it could be that. And then we've got basically Mahrez, Sterling, Torres out wide. And then we've got Aguero and Gabriel Jesus. So we're a little bit light towards the front end, I would actually say, weirdly, you know. That's how it is at the moment. This next slide is how I think it will be come the end of the transfer window. I think we'll sign a centre-back. So I've got basically, I think it'll be Koulibaly as well. I still think Koulibaly will actually happen. So this is how I think it'll be. Those 3 goalkeepers will be our keepers. Ederson will be our number 1. Zach Steffen will play all the cup games, and I suspect he'll make his debut in the Carabao Cup. Against Bournemouth. Carson will be there, just being the GOAT. You know, Carson will be there. I'm Scott Carson. I do what I want, and I love you, Scott Carson, for it. Scott Carson will sit there and never play a game, hopefully, because that means Ederson and Steffen doesn't get injured. Though I do want Carson to play a game. It'd be nice, wouldn't it? You know, maybe Steffen can get a sore finger or something like that, and then Carson can play in a Carabao Cup game. But anyway, that'll be our goalkeeping options. Then I reckon it'll end up being Laporte as the nominal first choice left centre-back, with Ake as the backup for him. Though I wouldn't be surprised to see Ake every now and then play at left-back, by the way. But I reckon Laporte will be there, and the balance of the nominal left-backs will be Mendy, Zinchenko. Right centre-back, I can see Koulibaly coming in still. It'd be Koulibaly or Koundé, something like that. But I reckon Koulibaly will actually eventually happen. I think City eventually will just throw some big money on a centre-back, and it might be Jimenez, it might be Diego Carlos, it might be Koundé from Sevilla, it might be Koulibaly, but I reckon we will get one. I do think we'll get one. And to be honest, if we suddenly have Laporte, then Ake, and then Koulibaly, then Stones, that's pretty good. I've got a feeling Stones should step up this season. I think that's a pretty good squad depth. I put Garcia there with an asterisk next to him because I'm really 50-50 whether he'll go. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a last-minute kind of Barcelona bid of 15 million and the City decide to accept it. But I reckon currently it's slightly edging towards Garcia going. Maybe 51-49 Garcia going. But he's still there anyway because I think he'll largely be like a fourth choice or something like that next season, presuming we get Koulibaly in. On the right side, Walker and Cancelo will battle it out. I do think we'll see Cancelo every now and then on the left, but I can't really see him always playing there. I think Mendy will get another chance, finally, hopefully, to prove that he's the guy that we actually need at left back. He should be fully fit now, you know, fully fit, and this is a big season for Mendy. Especially with Ake, you can definitely play left back, and Cancelo, who proved himself a pretty good option at left wing back as well last season. So Walker and Cancelo will be our nominal fullbacks there. I didn't mention, by the way, earlier that Jan Couto, of course, is going out on loan. I didn't mention earlier, by the way, Jan Couto is, of course, going to get on loan to Girona, which is a shame for him. But it'll be those two, basically, Walker and Cancelo. In midfield, I can see Fernandinho actually being used as a number 6 again. I think he'll be the nominal backup to Rodri. I can't really see Gundogan playing there much. I've got a feeling now, given the fact that we haven't signed another midfielder, I think Gundogan will be playing as a number 8 every now and then, which I'm dreading because I don't think he has the pace for it. But I've got a feeling we will see him there anyway. So we've got Rodri and Fernandinho usually as holding midfielders. It could be Gundogan too, of course. And then we'll see, as the main midfielders, I think we'll see Foden play an awful lot more in midfield this season because we've got Torres in now. And because David Silva's gone. It's so weird seeing the squad listing like this without David Silva, isn't it? The one thing, of course, is that it's going to be a very different Manchester City. We haven't got the calm composure that David Silva brings in this team, which is why I actually think we'll see Gundogan play there. I don't think Gundogan is anywhere near as good as David Silva doing what we want him to do, but I think he will be there anyway occasionally. We'll see how we get on there. It could be that Bernardo plays alongside Kevin De Bruyne or Foden every now and then. Bernardo, I think, will play more games in midfield this season as well. Bernardo, of course, and Foden will occasionally go out on the right, act as an alternative to Morris. But I think De Bruyne and Bernardo will be our... De Bruyne, Bernardo and Foden will be our nominal 8s in the attacking sense, and maybe Gundogan every now and then. Morris, I'm sure Morris will play a lot of games out wide this season. He's got an awful lot of game time there, with Torres every now and then playing on the left and every now and then playing on the right. I think Ferran Torres will get a lot more game time than we realise, and I think around November time, Torres will start to play an awful lot of games as the season gets more and more bitty and loads of more games and injuries start to pick up, and yes, it'll be an awful lot of game time, and Sterling will continue to play on either wing, I reckon. Occasionally, he'll mostly play on the left, but I reckon every now and then we'll see Sterling on the right, given the fact that Torres can play on the left cutting in as well. And with Aguero and Gabriel Jesus up through the middle. That's our squad as I reckon it'll look initially at the start of the season. The next slide on the screen right now, next to me, is our squad with some youth team options. And these are the ones that I think will come in every now and then and play a game. I've got Harwood Bellis there at the back. I think Harwood Bellis will play the occasional... I think he'll play the occasional Carabao Cup game, maybe if he doesn't go out on loan. I think he will go on loan, but Howard Bellis is there for now anyway. At right back, I've got Dionco with an asterisk next to his name, because Dionco, I think, might actually end up going out on loan, but for now, Dionco's there. And if you play any Carabao Cup games, I think Dionco's got a good chance of being involved. Midfield, Tommy Doyle will hang around, and he will play some games. I think Doyle will occasionally play. He could get a loan, of course, but I think he'll occasionally play in the Cup games as well. Braff is the big one. You know, everyone talking about Jayden Braff. He's over there on the left. And I think Braff will finally make his debut this season. I mean, he's got impressive training, of course, but I think Braff will be a squad option for those lower league kind of cup games, potentially. Then I've got Bernabe and Palmer, who can both play out wide. Cole Palmer, I think Guardiola absolutely loves, and rightfully so. Cole Palmer is a fantastically gifted, elegant footballer who reminds me a little bit of Nasri, but more of a serious attitude to his game, despite being a teenager. He's very good, Cole Palmer, an excellent player, and lots of potential, and I really, really rate him. And I think he will actually be on the bench every now and then. With Bernabe as well, we'll get game time or two, because Bernabe obviously is trusted by Guardiola, and rightfully so. And also Liam Delap. Liam Delap is fantastic. He's Rory Delap's kid. He's a natural, bullish, bulldozing, got-it-all striker. Genuinely has everything to his game, and I think Liam Delap will every now and then see some bench time, simply because I think there's going to be injuries as well. Delap is a natural goal scorer. He's already 6 foot. He's physical. He's fast, and Delap will be useful in the squad. So that's the youth options. There could be more, of course. There are plenty of very good youth players in the team that could be very useful, you know. In terms of centre-backs, Finley Burns is really good. We've got CJ Egan-Riley's a really good player as well. Samuel Ladozi could get game time every now and then. Ben Knight has been around the first team before, and he's absolutely loads, basically. It could be useful, but that's the squad with youth. So on to this negative bit. This is the list of concerns. Don't worry, there will be some positives, but these are the questions that Manchester City need to answer coming this season. I'm going to start initially with, will Nathan Ake and Torres adapt? And are they enough, really, I guess? That's the big question. Currently, as it stands, those two are our only new fresh faces for this season. And of course, what you're relying on here is a guy, if we're being totally realistic, as good as I think he is, the question marks are fair. He was basically part of a defence that got relegated and shipped a shit ton of goals basically last season for Bournemouth. Is this guy, who's only 5'11", so he's not the biggest, and he is, statistically speaking, one of the weakest in the air in terms of centre-backs in the Premier League, is he enough to help solve our current defensive problems? I'm not convinced on his own he is. I do think, however, he will help, but largely that's a very fair question. Is Ake enough to help Manchester City improve defensively? And will he adapt immediately to Manchester City's style? And also Ferran Torres, he's only 20 years old. Ferran Torres, he's very wet behind the ears. He's only a young lad. Will he even adapt to the Premier League anywhere near fast enough to be useful? And also, how will Ferran Torres deal with against this low block that Manchester City meet every single time we play anyone who isn't a top side? Teams sit deep against Manchester City, and how will Torres adapt to that? He's used to playing at Valencia, who become a bit of a mid-table side over in La Liga, and he won't be used to anywhere near the amount of defensive kind of pressure that he'll be basically up against. So we don't really know so far if those two are going to improve the first team anywhere near enough. Are they enough? Time will tell. The second question for me, the second concern, I guess, is the Vincent Kompany. Not so esteemed Kompany, I guess. We haven't replaced Vincent Kompany, and that is a big problem still. Admittedly, that could happen. We could sign Koulibaly, we could sign another defender, and someone could step in and be this defensive, physical presence that we need. But more what we've lost around the dressing room with Vincent Kompany, it's more about what he brought to the team, both on and off the pitch, than his actual ability on the pitch sometimes. Kompany was a leader. He was a voice amongst the squad that players essentially accepted. And we had a bit of a leadership vacuum after he left. Now, of course, the likes of Kevin De Bruyne could step in and fill that. But Vincent Kompany, we haven't replaced him yet. And so far, it's criminal that we haven't done it. We need to replace Vincent Kompany, not just his ability on the pitch, but also his leadership presence. Have we done that? I'm not so certain yet. And we've also not solved the left-back problem. We're going into what season is this now? Our fourth season without a guaranteed, assured slot of left-back. We've had Fabian Delph doing a decent job, but eventually exploded for a while. Zinchenko did a decent job, eventually that exploded. We've had Mendy with knees that exploded. We basically haven't really solved the left-back problem, which has been plaguing us for an awful long time. Of course, there's been some variables that have been out of our control. Mendy being a crop, none of them could have expected that, but we haven't solved that. And that is an issue going into this new season. We haven't solved that, and as it stands, I don't think it's likely that we solve it either. That's a problem that eventually we're going to struggle to keep getting away with. Hopefully, Mendy can be the one to do this season, but we haven't solved that, and it's a very pressing concern. We also not moved on the plays that we want to yet. The likes of Otamendi still hanging around. Stones, there are big question marks over him as well, which I don't think is unfair. Stones is still here. Zinchenko, I mean, is he really the answer? He's still hanging around. We haven't moved them on yet. And when are we going to move them on, if we do at all? We've still got a relatively bloated squad in certain positions, and it hasn't been great. The season preparation, of course, also is a big concern. It's been very, very poor. We've had Mahrez and Laporte. We've had them isolating. We've got Bernardo Silva with an injury currently. We've had Guardiola isolating as well. Pep has basically had no time whatsoever with the team ahead of the opener against Wolves. The preparation so far has been shambolic, if we're being totally honest. Coronavirus and all this kind of stuff, and I'm aware it's probably been the same for many teams as well, but so far the preparation has been absolutely terrible, and sometimes this is the kind of stuff that can really affect the team in the long run. Sometimes the poor preparation can affect the likes of Ake and Torres, these new players that needed that one-to-one time before the season got really heavy, before it got really underway. They haven't had that. They just haven't had that, which could be something that comes back to haunt us, unfortunately. So the preparation for the season has been poor, and that is a concern. Defensive problems are still there. About a month ago, Stones and Otamendi were not seen as reliable enough to step in versus Lyon, and they put him behind a 19-year-old defender who wanted to leave, and a 35-year-old midfielder. So basically, we've still got Stones and Otamendi currently at the team, and these were players not deemed good enough against Lyon, and they are still here. And Otamendi is still a liability, and Stones still has various question marks. Don't get me wrong, I think Stones does have the ability. He definitely has the ability, but he also has the ability to disappear, make mistakes, be injured, and be unreliable. And that is a question mark. Likewise, Fernandinho is not a reliable centre-back option. And likewise, Eric Garcia, I think there are question marks about his physicality, his suitability to playing in a high leg because he doesn't have the pace to get back. And also, might be question marks about his focus. He doesn't want to be here anymore. So we have got that problem still. And the amount of times towards the end of last season where we saw that the defence on the halfway line and the ball down the channels and the players couldn't react to it, I'm tired of that. I don't want to see that again. We've got a feeling we're going to see an awful lot next season. We haven't solved that. And no centre-back signings. If we don't make a signing, and that is a big concern, that could cost us. And I don't think it's unfair to feel that way as well. I mean, Guardiola pretty much made it obvious he doesn't trust Stones and Otamendi. And at one point, he didn't trust Fernandinho as well to be the centre-back solutions, given Garcia got thrown in there. And in fact, if Guardiola can feel that way, it's not unreasonable for City fans to feel that way. The next big concern, it's going on and on and on, but don't forget there will be positives coming up, don't worry about it, is David Silva's gone. Now, what that means is we haven't got David Silva, which obviously is terrible. But what it means more than that is that we lack the control, potentially, that David Silva used to bring to Manchester City Football Club. David Silva was an absolute genius. A genius. And we can't pretend that David Silva not being there won't fundamentally change how Manchester City play football. He brought that control. He brought that level-headed brilliance. He was the calm amongst the storm. The guy in the middle of the hurricane who could sit there and be peaceful and find the calm and find the pass and thread it. And the guy who was king for pre-assist, basically, the pass before the assist. That was David Silva. And suddenly, we could lack that control. And my fear is that we will try and play Gundogan there because he thinks that Gundogan has that too, and we could end up getting slow. Could it be that because David Silva's not there, now we see Rodri and Gundogan playing more together, which will make things even more slow, which could be painful? And could it be too much pressure on Phil Foden? You can't do what David Silva can, and likewise David Silva couldn't do what Foden could, but it's worth noting that Foden can't bring that same level of control. And could it be just too much for Foden to try and take on his shoulders? And Bernardo can't do it either. David Silva gone means we need to reinvent how we play. We can't pretend to be the same team because we're just simply not. It could, of course, be positives, and I'll get onto that later, but that is an issue. Also, a concern is we haven't really solved the midfield thing yet, and Rodri needs to step up. Rodri was good last season. I actually think he was better than we realised, but what he was good at was different to what Fernandinho was good at. And last season, the amount of players running at the centre defence because we didn't really have control of the midfield did concern me, and Rodri was a big part of that. Of course, he got to an extent a free pass because it was his first season. He was adapting to the style, and trying to be Fernandinho is never going to be easy for anyone, but there was no denying that Rodri didn't bring that same level-headed, that almost that bastardness as well to midfield that Fernandinho had. He didn't have the pace and the energy and the wiliness and the experience to get round and sweep up when we needed it. Now, I'm not saying he can't do that. I'm sure he definitely can, but so far we haven't answered that question. Rodri needs to step up. And also, the next concern is key player form. There were some players last season that just didn't step up to anywhere we needed to. There were mistakes for Laporte towards the end of last season. Of course, he gets a pass to an extent, given he was recovering from injury, but there were mistakes. Bernardo was a shell of the man last season. Bernardo, we need him back. And currently, we're not sure if Bernardo can be the guy that we saw in the 18-19 season. So that is a question mark. Likewise, Ederson, even though he got the Golden Glove last season, there were some uncharacteristic mistakes for him. And at times as well, there are a few other plays that kind of let us down a little bit every now and then. You know, I thought that the likes of Mendy is a concern, of course. I'm not saying he's a key player, but Mendy, of course, hasn't really solved that left-back issue yet, as we discussed earlier. Fernandinho, there are concerns that he hasn't really got the pace anymore. There are concerns across the pitch, and I'm not saying these are necessarily going to transform to bad performances because it's a new season, but we need to answer that question, don't we? And also, another concern is Pep's future. That is going to hang over this season. Pep hasn't committed to staying one way or another, and that will become a charade, unfortunately. Pep hanging around will make the players uncertain, it'll make the fans uncertain, it'll make future progression planning uncertain, and that's one of the things that bugs me the most, unfortunately. Pep not knowing his future next season very much feels like Pep is saying, well, if it goes well, I'll stay. If it's not, I'll fuck off anyway. And that lack of commitment can be a big issue. It shouldn't be an issue you could argue, but I'm sorry, it's human nature to be concerned by these things if you're players and if you're a fan. And that is something that we're going to have to address, but unfortunately, it hasn't been solved. So that will be something that looms over the season, especially if we get a couple of bad results. It could become a media frenzy as they jump in Manchester City and say, oh, the Sharks will come out and they'll be searching for blood. They'll go, Guardiola hasn't committed, City have lost a couple of games, he's going to leave, everything's a mess, and that stuff can feed into negativity, unfortunately. The big question mark is whether we can rediscover that hunger while missing leaders. I mean, we've lost Kompany's presence, we've lost Fernandinho's presence in the middle of the pitch because he isn't there as regularly, so we've lost that control and that power and that calmness with Kompany and Fernandinho. Can we rediscover that hunger? That is a question mark. I actually think we can, but it's a fair question mark, and some people will be negative about it. And I don't blame him. I don't blame him because it's a very fair question mark. Could it be that this cycle is over now, that we need to reset a lot more than we realise? We don't know yet, but time will tell on that front. The next question mark is about Aguero. For me, I am concerned, I've mentioned this plenty of times, that Aguero and co, there could be more injuries than we realise this season. I think Aguero is a fantastic player, but I am very concerned that he's going to be injured an awful lot. So we're going to see Aguero potentially, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but Aguero could be injured out a lot more than we realise. He's 32 years old now. His meniscus injury is a worrying one. He was meant to be out for 4 weeks, but now he's still not even ready, allegedly, for the Wolves game. This injury could go on and on and on. It's a horrible, nasty injury, the meniscus injury. And I've got a feeling he's not going to play a lot of football this season. I could be wrong, but that's a concern. Which leaves us then just with Gabriel Jesus, a guy who wasn't always that reliable in front of the goal. Don't get me wrong, I love Gabriel Jesus. I think his work rate, his versatility, his link-up play, excellent. But he isn't the clinical guy that Aguero is, and he doesn't fill me with confidence in the way Aguero does in front of goal. So what if Aguero gets injured and then we're left with one striker? Do we play the lap? I would go for it, but I don't think Guardiola would. So Aguero is a concern. And also, finally, are we not sure yet of our best 11? I know people would go, well, that's not really a big deal, you know. But you look back at the great Manchester City side of 17-18, and you kind of knew what City were going to do, you know. You kind of knew in midfield it was going to be Fernandinho, it was going to be David Silva, it was going to be Kevin De Bruyne, it was going to be Sterling and Sane. If not, it would have been Bernardo out wide. It was going to be Sterling and Sane, it was going to be Aguero. It was going to be powerful, it was going to be reliable, we were going to love it and we were going to trust it. It was going to be Walker at right back, and we had a settled, if not great option with Delph, but then we also knew he'd always play the games. Then we had Laporte come in, and then it'd be Kompany or Otamendi or Stones. But either way, most of the forward team was so well tuned with each other. We don't know that at the moment. I'm not saying we have to know that, but we don't know that, and that is a concern. So, after that whole negativity implosion, let's move on to the reasons to be positive, damn it. Let's be positive. Firstly, we're Man-fucking City. We're Manchester City. We're fucking brilliant. I'm sorry, but it needs sometimes worth saying that we're Manchester City. We're the most successful team in the last decade. We have done things that I never even dreamed were possible in a blue shirt. I never as a child dreamed I would see this level of incredible football, this point totals, these records that we've broken, all this incredible world-class play. I'm sorry, but it's easy to forget with recency bias just how good Manchester City can be on their day. And I'm sorry, we've still got a wonderful, absolutely fucking wonderful collection of players, presuming they turn up. Of course, there's question marks, but why not be positive about it instead? The rivals have signed all these players because they were far behind us. Of course, Liverpool ahead of us currently, but we look around and go, oh, they're signing that, they're signing that, they're signing that. It's because they're trying to chase us. That's why it's happening. And the reason Liverpool are so good right now is because we were so fucking brilliant for 2-3 years in a row. We made them the level that we are because we were absolutely fantastic. And sometimes it's worth going, actually, you know what? We've got Sergio Aguero, one of the best strikers in Premier League history. Of course, there are injury concerns, but presuming he stays fit, he's the best striker possibly in Premier League history, up there with Shearer and Henry. We've got him. We've got Sterling, who scored 30 goals last season for the first time. A Premier League Player of the Year nominee. A Premier League Young Player of the Year winner, a guy who could probably score 30 plus goals again this season. We've got Bernardo Silva, who could rediscover the form that actually made him a Ballon d'Or contender. We forget that he was genuinely nominated for a Ballon d'Or, Bernardo Silva. We've got Riyad Mahrez, a Premier League Player of the Year winner. You know, we've got Kevin De Bruyne, the best player in the Premier League and one of the best players in world football. We've got the most exciting young English prospect for 20 years, possibly, in Phil Foden. You know, we got absolutely, I know people will say, what about Greenwood and all that kind of stuff? Of course, one of them. But we got Phil Foden there. We've got essentially a fantastic squad. We've absolutely loads to be positive about. And we've got an incredible style that's already adapted that we actually know loads about. So basically, we're Manchester City Football Club. Why not feel positive? Next up, we've got Ake and Torres, and these are good players. I'm sorry, Nathan Ake is, according to Bournemouth fans, their best player in their club's history. What's not to like about Nathan Ake? I'm sorry, I've got a feeling Ake could surprise us this season. He's versatile, he's hard-working, he's focused, he's got great pace, he's got that never-say-die attitude, and I think, honestly, he will improve us and offer that kind of like alternative that we actually need now. Laporte, if Laporte picks up any injuries. Last season, we were definitely hampered by a lack of Laporte, and now we've answered that question. And he's a very, very good player. I think Ake could end up becoming a bit of a cult figure, genuinely. I think we could grow to love him loads and admire his determination, his hunger. And I think he'll be better than we realise now. He's surrounded by great players. Also, we've got Ferran Torres, and Ferran Torres is fantastic. I don't think people quite realise how good Ferran Torres is because he cost barely anything and he didn't come from a big glamorous club like Real Madrid or something like that. Ferran Torres is I'm really, really impressed with Ferran Torres, and not just what he does on the pitch. I like his focus, man. I like his confidence. He's very cocksure. I like the fact that he believes in himself. I like the fact that he clearly wants to show how much of a beast he is with all the videos of him doing weights and all that kind of stuff. And I like the fact that he'll bring a little bit of pace and directness to us. I've got a feeling Ferran Torres could be a bit of a surprise package and explode. I mean, he's literally one of Spain's best players in his age group. It's worth remembering that. He's seen as one of Spain's most brightest prospects, and we got him for around 20 million. Torres is fantastic. I don't doubt that he could be absolutely fantastic for Manchester City this season. Likewise, Nathan Ake. Next up as well, renewed hunger. You know, I got a feeling the squad, their pride would have been absolutely battered last season. I got a feeling they'll look around this season and go, do you know what? We can do it this year. They are professionals who are serial winners. And last season they got so much criticism that I don't see any reason why we won't get a renewed hunger for this squad. It's fair to say that we could question it, but at the same time it's fair to say, well, why won't it happen? It's very possible. It's very, very possible. They are winners, and their pride would have been hurt by last season's deficiencies and the weaknesses. And I think it's fair to say last season it kind of steamrolled. When he got so far behind, I think it was basically fair to say that the season was written off to an extent in some competitions, and that seeped into the season. If we start winning games early on again, that renewed hunger could shine through, especially with Ake and Torres and hopefully someone else coming in. Also, Manchester City have a big squad, and you got to bear in mind this is going to be a very condensed, very tiring season for absolutely every single Premier League season side, and this is one of the things that could actually benefit Manchester City. We saw the squad depth earlier, and everyone else around the Premier League, they can't really match that. Maybe a couple of teams can, maybe Chelsea can, maybe, you know, they've got some good players as well, Liverpool in terms of backup, but Liverpool don't have the backup that we've got in terms of the front line and all that kind of stuff. I'm not saying they will get injuries, but the idea that all these squads can cope as well as Manchester City's can when the games come thick and fast doesn't really stand up as well. City have a very, very essentially comfortable squad. We've got a squad that's very much used to our style of play, and we've got a squad built for playing every single 3 days, and not many squads can actually match that, and that's a reason to feel very, very positive. Also, the next on the list is, I think, it's Bernardo's time to shine. I don't see any reason personally why Bernardo won't actually be better this season than he was last year. There was a lot of rumours last season that he wasn't comfortable shifting from one position to another constantly, and I think Bernardo will actually come back this season with a renewed hunger. I think Bernardo was absolutely incredible in the 18-19 season. I don't see any reason why he won't be better this year. I think Bernardo is an absolute world-class player on his day, and if he gets that same hunger, that same desire back, and I think we will get out of him, then Manchester City will be a different proposition altogether. That pressing that he can bring, that desire, that incredible technique, it wasn't always there last season, but maybe this season it will be. He's had a lot of time to think, and I don't see any reason why he can't be the guy. Edison as well. Edison should go up a level. I know he did win the Golden Glove, as I said earlier, but Edison did make some mistakes last season, but I think this season will be a different thing for him. He could easily be a much better Edison this year. We could see him making more saves. He could rise to the challenge that Zach Steffen will actually bring, and I think Steffen will be pushing and training an awful lot. So what's to say that Bernardo doesn't improve? What's to say that Edison doesn't improve? Also, this could be a massive year for Gabriel Jesus as well. I've got a feeling Gabriel Jesus could actually shine this year. I think Michael Owen said he could be an outside bet for the Golden Boot. I won't go that far personally, but Gabriel Jesus scored 14 goals in the Premier League last season, and I don't see any reason why he won't get 20 plus as well. I actually think Gabriel Jesus could surprise people. I think he'll get an absolute shit ton of games. I think he'll get a reason to play more, because I think unfortunately Aguero will pick up some injuries, but this could feed into Gabriel Jesus feeling confident about himself and finally fulfilling the potential that we all know he has got. He has absolutely no lack of work rate. We all admire that part of his game. A lot of people think he's a winger. I think he's fine in either position, but I think Gabriel Jesus will absolutely revel in the responsibility that he'll be afforded this season. He'll get more game time, and I think if he scores a few goals early on, we could see him score a lot more than we realise. I think this could be a season where he's getting 25 plus genuinely in all competitions. Why not, of course? Another reason to be positive is Laporte is now fit. Last season was one where we had Laporte injured, we had no Sane, we had no Kompany. Of course, that hasn't been solved yet. But we got Torres now in to replace Sane, hopefully. And Laporte is actually back. And Laporte is absolutely huge for our defence. We can't deny the impact that a fit Aymeric Laporte has on this Manchester City defence. He wasn't at his best towards the end of last season, but now, given the time he's had off and everyone's reset and everyone's refocused and all this kind of stuff, Laporte being around and available That will solve so many of our defensive problems. Last season, we were far too easy to get at. And Laporte being there, linking up with Mendy alongside him, I think largely will be a lot more focused and a lot more organised. And Laporte being there will be a big part of that. The next reason as well, I just touched on it briefly, Leroy Sané, that saga won't hang over us. I mean, it shouldn't really matter too much in terms of on the pitch, but that kind of stuff, it does have an effect. I don't like players, especially senior big international stars, hanging around the first team who don't really want to be there. I mean, Sane was there training every single day. That will have an impact, you know, like it'll have an impact a little bit on the focus of the team. We can't have someone that everyone wants to know, everyone knows doesn't want to be there, hanging around the first team. I'm sorry, I don't like that. And personally, that Leroy Sané saga is now over, and that to me will be a positive. Another reason to feel positive is actually that I do think we will sign a centre-back. As I'm recording this, of course, it is only Friday the 18th of September, and I do think Manchester City will actually finally get someone in. There's been too many links to too many centre-backs. Koundé, Jimenez, Koulibaly, who else? Diego Carlos, that I don't think Manchester City will let up until the transfer window's finished. I think we will sign someone. It's going to be painful in the interim, but I think eventually we'll cave in and throw 5-10 million extra at someone like Koulibaly, and we will get them in. You've got to trust in Cheeky, Soriano, Pep and Caldew and everyone to get this over the line, and Omar Berardi, of course, as well. And I think we will get it, so be positive on that front. Next on the list is we've got some incredible youth talents, and they are definitely something to look forward to this season. I'm not saying they'll play loads of games, but why not be excited by the likes of Cole Palmer getting a game every now and then, or Liam Delap, a fantastically gifted, bullish, complete centre forward, or Jayden Braff finally making the breakthrough that all of us hoped would happen, or maybe Tommy Doyle, a local lad, or maybe Howard Bellis, if he hangs around, will get some game time. Why not be excited about that? These are fantastic young talents that I'm sure we'll see plenty of in the cup games, and that is a reason for me to look forward to this season alone, because one of those could end up being a breakout star this season, and I wouldn't be surprised, given the amount of games, given the amount of injuries, if one of them actually makes a name for himself. And that, for me personally, is a reason to be excited for this season. Next up, a reason to be positive is a reason to be negative for someone else. Can Liverpool really keep up that pace? I mean, I think we all presume that Liverpool will be exactly the same side next season, with absolutely no reason to believe in that. Honestly, I'm sure they'll be very, very good, but the points totals they got next season, I can't see anyone keeping up. I can't see Liverpool keeping up, especially without the Anfield fans to roar them on. I've got a feeling every now and then Liverpool will struggle a little bit. They're going to win loads of games, but I can't see him keeping up the pace, even with Thiago, you know. Thiago is good, but he changes what they're about to an extent where I think occasionally Liverpool will pick up injuries, unfortunately for them. I don't want to wish injuries in anyone, but I think it's inevitable, and I think Liverpool will struggle to maintain that intensity, because that hunger's gone from them. Their thing was all about chasing that trophy, that first Premier League title in decades. They finally got there, but now it's done. It's very much like, well, what's the new motivation? Of course, to an extent, they will motivate themselves, but there's no guarantee Liverpool will be as good. I think we're all presuming they will be as good, and there's no guarantee that's going to be the case. Looking around our rivals as well, there's no guarantee that all those signings for Chelsea will gel. There's no guarantee that Manchester United will keep up that form from post-lockdown. I mean, it's been a frustrating transfer window for them as well. They got Van der Beek, who's a good player, but they so far haven't got Sancho in. They so far haven't got any of the other players that they wanted in as well. And there's no guarantee that Spurs' new signings will gel, or Arsenal will be as good as they think they can be. There's no guarantee that anyone will be fantastic, because they've all had very different preparations, and it's going to be, I think we always presume when we see all these other teams make signings that these players are going to come in and be perfect. It doesn't work that way, and there's no reason that all these signings that they got will bridge the gap from them to Manchester City. We've got to be positive. One big thing for me is that I think we could actually see the return of pressing. Like last season, one of the biggest things that cost us, in my personal opinion, is that we had David Silva playing an awful lot, and occasionally Gundogan as well. And David Silva, I think it's fair to say, his legs had gone. And I think we always looked a lot more vulnerable for the counter press, and teams basically beat our press an awful lot easier when David Silva is playing. Now David Silva isn't there, we are essentially forced to play Foden or Bernardo a lot more in midfield. It could be Gundogan, of course, but I think we'll see Foden and Bernardo play a lot more in midfield, and I think that will only actually help our game. I think largely City will discover some of their energy again, which marked us out to be such a great team in the 17-18 and 18-19 sides. I genuinely believe that City will be a lot more energetic this season. I think we'll have a lot more desire. I think we'll have a more athletic team, presumably assuming Ake plays more, presuming we've got Ferran Torres a little bit more, and then we've got Nathan Ake coming, and then of course we've got Walker's inevitable lung-busting runs down the right. Cancelo will be adapted a little bit more too. We'll have loads more versatility, loads more pace, loads more energy in our team potentially. Basically, I think we'll see an awful lot of energy in Manchester City side this season that was lacking at times last year, mainly because of the signings and also because of some enforced changes. Next, the player I just touched on, Cancelo, Joao Cancelo. I'm expecting an awful lot more of this season from Joao Cancelo. Like as well, Rodri and Cancelo adapting, I think, will be a big thing. I don't see any reason why Rodri and Cancelo won't be better this season. I think Rodri's seen now for 12 months what the Premier League is all about. I think he will learn a little bit. I think he'll be a lot more wily. He'll be familiar with some players and how they play. And once you can't really plan for something you haven't yet experienced. And Cancelo and Rodri will both be used to that now. But Rodri in particular, I think, will benefit an awful lot. But likewise, Cancelo. I think Cancelo showed towards the end of the season that he finally started to adapt to what Manchester City want from him. And Guardiola was very positive about Cancelo in press conferences, where previously he made some kind of veiled comments to suggest that he hadn't fully adapted yet. And Cancelo being good next season and Rodri being a year more to the wise in midfield can only be a good thing. Next one, this is a very Manchester City thing actually. Weirdly, I think the lack of fans in grounds, I know you could make, say City are already used to it, but weirdly I think the lack of fans in grounds actually will play into Manchester City's hands. Now, if you go away to Ellen Road, or you go to, Sheffield United's ground, or you go to Anfield, those fans and that boisterous atmosphere, of course, that will only help those teams. Of course it will. And it'll create a hostile atmosphere that will get the opposition players pumped and ready. I don't think, actually, that will help them. It'll be very bad for those teams. City are a team that is clinical, composed, and efficient in nature. They aren't a team that needs the crowd's energy to feed off. Of course, the fans can make a difference, and you've only got to go back to the 2-1 victory against Liverpool at the Etihad for a perfect example of that, when the fans were riled and it was intense and passionate, and you could tell that they adapted to it. But largely, I think City's style won't be affected by a lack of opposition fans and all that kind of stuff. I think City will be one to benefit from a more sterile, calm, composed training ground environment, because our football is methodical, it's focused, it's ready, and I think that will play into City's hands over the course of a season. And the reason to feel positive is, like last season for me, the final one, last season was inevitable. It's just cyclical nature of football. And sometimes you'll have a season after 2 incredible seasons that isn't quite as good. And that isn't necessarily always a bad thing. Sometimes you need to reset the focus. Sometimes you need to recoup a little bit and kind of just accept that you can't always play at that high level. And maybe you need to miss things and lose things to basically get back to who you are at your very best. And I think that's where we are with Manchester City. And I think last season was just an inevitable part of City's next journey, basically. I don't see any reason at all why Manchester City won't recoup, get back together, all these winners will go, let's find our best form, and that is very much a possibility. Anyway, that was exhausting. All those positives and negatives, loads of discussion points there. Let's move on to our rivals. Of course, Chelsea are the ones that everyone are very excited about this season, and I can't deny their transfers haven't been very good. Thiago Silva, a very experienced centre-back. You got Ziyech, very gifted, intelligent footballer. Timo Werner, a striker that I would love at Manchester City. Kai Havertz, one of the most talented young attacking midfielders in world football. Then you've got Ben Chilwell, a left-back that would definitely improve Manchester City's side. They've got Malang Sarr coming as well, another very good centre-back, and they are linked with a keeper. So basically, Chelsea have been very, very, very aggressive in the transfer market, and I'm sure they'll be better. One thing I will say is largely that you can't really sign that many players and expect them all to gel perfectly and all be fantastic. All those players, Chilwell aside, they're all adapting to the Premier League. There's no guarantee that Thiago Silva at his age will be fantastic in the Premier League. He's a very good defender, but he's come from the French League to the Premier League, which is a hell of a step up for anyone, never mind a player of his age. There's no guarantee that Kai Havertz will adapt to the Premier League. There's been lots of very big, very talented wonder players, wonder kids and all this kind of stuff who've come with massive reputations that have gone to Chelsea as well and struggled in the past. You've only got to look at the likes of Shevchenko going there, or maybe Ferran at Manchester United. Loads of very gifted players have gone and struggled a little bit initially. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but there's no guarantee he's going to be an £80 million player that will change the game or that will even match the levels of Phil Foden. There's no guarantee of that, of course. Chilwell, good player, don't get me wrong, but is he really going to revolutionise Chelsea? Probably not. Timo Werner, another good player, but will he end up scoring 30 goals a season for Chelsea, or will he be just another 15 goal a season kind of player? We don't know until it happens. It is no guarantee that Chelsea will be able to bridge that gap come the difficult months, the months where the pressure is rising on the team. They might look round for familiarity and not find it. There's no guarantee at all. It's easy to be envious, and rightfully so. They signed some good players, but they've got a long way to make up, and there's a lot of question marks still. Likewise, United, they were great towards the end of the season last year. I can't deny that. But everyone's going to be a lot more focused this season. United, that surprise factor, Bruno Fernandes is gone. They signed one player so far, Van der Beek, who's a good player, but I can't imagine he'll overly change the side that United have got. And also, of course, he's going to be a rotation player. And they're only an injury or two away as well from having a much weaker forward line. They will be good, but will they bridge the gap once again? Is Solskjaer, likewise Lampard, by the way, is Solskjaer, Lampard, and even Arteta, all these young managers, do they have the know-how, the experience to keep these players focused towards the end of the season? Nothing suggests they can do that so far. United are a good team, definitely, and they will improve, but are they at Manchester City's level? Is that even a fair thing to say at the moment? I'm not sure they actually are. Spurs, they've got Mourinho, Mourinho, I don't really rate him that much, but he's a wily character who knows what he's doing, and there's nothing to say that with the likes of Doherty and Højbjerg and then Reguilon and Gareth Bale potentially coming in, that they won't be difficult. They could be very difficult every now and then. Once again, can I see them really challenging Manchester City? Are they better City with all these signings? Or any of these teams I've just mentioned better than City with their signings? I don't think they actually are currently. I'm sure they could beat us on the day, but I still don't think they are over the course of the season. It's very easy to look over and go, get shiny new toy syndrome and go, I want what they've got. Look at all their fancy new toys and, I've got an Xbox and it's good, but I want a PlayStation, or I've got a PlayStation, now I want an Xbox. Sometimes it's good what you've got, and I think we don't realise sometimes that all these teams would kill for the players that we've got, genuinely. Arsenal, I'm sure, will improve massively under Arteta. Aubameyang was a massive extension for them. They've signed some good players as well. Willian, I thought, was a good signing for them. He's come in already and got a shit ton of assists. It'll be up and down, Willian, but he's a good signing. Gabriel will improve their defence. They've got some very good young players in Martinelli and Saka, and Arteta, a coach that I absolutely massively admire. So of course Arteta will improve enough to be ahead of Manchester City. I'm not so sure, I'm not so sure at all. Which brings us on to Liverpool as well. Liverpool are a fantastic side. The question marks over Liverpool, of course, are whether they can maintain that same hunger, that same desire, and also that same look to an extent. This is not bitterness at all. This is just genuinely factual statements. The amount of times last season where they got away with it, with a defensive error, a goalkeeping mistake, or one goal out of three that just tipped them to or winning by one goal despite missed chances or anything like that. Can they really have that same fortuitousness this season? I don't think they can do. Can they also be as lucky with a lack of injuries as well? Like the likes of Mane and Salah, Firmino, Van Dijk, no long-term injuries for any of them. City, on the other hand, getting injuries constantly left, right and centre. Can they have that same look next season? Chances are, probably not. Now, it might happen, of course, and they have a fantastic team. Thiago, if he comes in and confirmed, which he probably will be today, is a great player for them. That would make a massive difference to the way they can play football when they're trying to break down a Burnley or something like that, of course. But also, he does change how they play. You can't just put a player like Thiago into Liverpool's midfield and presume that he'll adapt to their system straight away. I'm sure he'll be great, but he's also injury prone, And they've only signed a backup right back other than that. So they haven't had a great window. It's got better now, but they haven't improved exponentially on a squad that was settled, that maybe might not have the hunger next season. Then, of course, there's the likes of Wolves or Portugal, basically, as we can call them now. They've improved an awful lot. Everton will be better under Ancelotti this season, of course. I can't deny that. Sheffield United, I think, will struggle a little bit this season compared to last year. But there are good teams throughout this Premier League. And I can't really deny that the rivals have improved. But there's no guarantee that they've improved ahead of Manchester City. Which leads me on to the predictions. And I already recorded this part once, but it wasn't thorough enough in my personal opinion. So I started it again with loads more categories. Initially, it was just the table and all that kind of stuff. But now I've got all these categories here alongside me. I've got the U player to break through, player of the season, best new signing, top goal scorer, my Premier League top 6, the Carabao Cup, the FA Cup, the Champions League, and I forgot to really put the relegated bit on, but I'll throw that in at the end anyway. anyway. So this is going to discuss basically all my predictions. All of these are based on the idea, by the way, that Manchester City sign a new centre-back, hopefully. But anyway, I'll start with the initial one. Youth player to break through. Now, for me, when I say breakthrough, I mean the kind of thing that Phil Foden did when he initially got into Manchester City's team. You know, like play 6 or 7 games here, come off the bench every now and then. I'm not saying play 30 games a season, but I'm saying be useful around that first team. And this is what I personally think Liam Delap will do. I think Liam Delap will find himself on the bench more than we realise, simply because I think Sergio Aguero is going to spend an awful lot of time talking to Dr. Roman Kugat. Unfortunately, I got a feeling he's going to be injured, and Delap at some point will get a go in the Carabao Cup game and maybe impress, maybe even score something like that. And I think he'll end up playing a few games here and there, and we'll look at him and go, do you know what, for the 21-22 season, he could be a very useful player. There are plenty, by the way, absolutely loads who could be useful here. Bernabé could get some game time. Doyle could play a few times in the Cup or whatever, then maybe spill into the league. But I'm going to go for Liam Delap because I'm so excited by Liam Delap. I'm not saying he's going to play loads, but he's the one that I reckon we could go, he could be the one for the season after, if that makes sense. In terms of our player of the season, I mean, it has to be Kevin De Bruyne, doesn't it? It has to be Kevin De Bruyne. Kevin De Bruyne is our talisman, and he'll be our captain, by the way, in my personal opinion for the season, if that's not already decided and I haven't already missed it. But De Bruyne will be our talisman. I think he'll show exactly just how good he is once again. Scoring loads more. He'll score from the penalty spot a lot this season, so I reckon he'll score loads of goals. He'll get a shit ton of his assists as well, and he'll be absolutely fantastic, as he always is. Kevin De Bruyne will be our best player this season. But I also want to give some honourable mentions to a couple of players. Phil Foden, for me, this could be his breakout year. Genuinely feel like he'll play an awful lot of football, given that condensed season that we've already discussed, given the fact that there'll be loads of games and Phil Foden will step into David Silva's shoes, hopefully. And also, I've got a feeling, a funny feeling, this could be the year Bernardo starts to show his form again after last season's disappointing form, if we're being totally honest. But I think Bernardo could actually start to show just how good he is, and once again be another, like Foden, hopefully, to shine in the absence of David Silva. Now, in terms of the best new signing, we've only signed 2 as it currently stands. I presume we will sign a centre-back, but even with that centre-back, I still think our transfer that we'll look at and go, that was a fantastic deal, is Ferran Torres. I've got a really good feeling about Ferran Torres. Seriously, I've got a feeling, even when we signed Koulibaly, and obviously we've got Ake as well, I've got a feeling Ferran Torres will be the one that really, really impresses us, and we go, this guy's an absolute gem for the price that we pay for him. I think he'll be direct, I think he'll be confident, I think he'll improve massively under Guardiola, and I think he'll start to really enjoy the physical side of the Premier League. So I'm feeling very confident about Ferran Torres. So he'll be my signing of the season, and largely, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I really think he could explode, and be absolutely ridiculously good. I think in a year or two from now, we could be looking at a guy who becomes a physical beast. He already looks like he might want to be Ronaldo-esque in his physicality because he's already working very hard. And Ronaldo was about 22, 23 when he got really stocky, and he's 2 or 3 years behind him. I'm not saying he's going to score that many goals, but I've got a feeling he could become a bit of a beast, which would be fantastic. Torres could become a 20-goal-a-season winger and be one of the best wingers in world football. I think that could genuinely happen. In terms of top goal scorer, I think it'll be Sterling again. I think it'll be Raheem Sterling. I think Aguero will be too injured, and I think Sterling's a more natural goal-getter than Gabriel Jesus in terms of he's always in the right positions, and I think Sterling will have another 30-goal season. He was starting to show his goal-scoring form again towards the end of the last campaign, and I don't see any reason why this guy won't get 30 goals again this season. I think Sterling's going to score loads. I think he always scores loads, and I think he'll score absolutely loads again this season. Sterling has become our best goal scorer currently. I know I'm not saying he's our best finisher, but at the moment he's scores more than anyone else, and that's a simple fact. So I think Sterling will end up being Manchester City's top goal scorer. And this is where I get to the bit with the Premier League top 6. This is my top 6 based on the idea Manchester City sign a centre-back. So this is the big asterisk. If City sign a centre-back, this is my top 6. I'm going to be positive. We've looked at all the negatives, we've looked at all the concerns, then we've looked at all the positives, and I concluded that as Manchester City fans, we're cynical and we always think the worst thing in the world is happening to us, because that's what football fans tend to do. We always get carried away and we always dig into the ground and have a go at our players and go, oh, we're not good enough and we haven't done it right, whereas every other team is constantly moaning too. We're always doing it, but I think actually City are going to turn it around. We're going to be focused. Bernardo's going to be great. Foden's going to be fantastic. Ferran Torres and Ake will start. Koulibaly will come in maybe and be great. And I think we'll be a lot more organised than we were last season. I honestly believe that's going to be the case. So I'm going to go Manchester City will win the league. In terms of the rest, I'm going for Liverpool in second. I think Liverpool, by the way, I think the points total will be very close. I think it'll be late 80s instead of like high 90s. I think it'll be mid to late 80s, so maybe 87 and 84 or 85. It'll be very close, by the way. I think Liverpool will be behind Manchester City in second. It could be, by the way, if City don't get Koulibaly or a defender, I'm going to switch it and say City will finish second and Liverpool will finish first. Fingers crossed I'm wrong on that front. So I'm going to go for that. I've then gone for Chelsea in third. I don't think they'll be able to bridge the gap just yet, but I think they'll be better this season. So I've gone for Chelsea in third, and controversially, this is my controversial take, I've gone for Arsenal in fourth. I mean, the reason I go for Arsenal in fourth is because they've tasted success. When you win the FA Cup and then you win the Community Shield, the players love that taste of success, and Arteta's got that positivity back at Arsenal, and I think they're going to be vastly better than they were last season, vastly better, and I think they'll push United personally outside of the top six. United will come fifth, I reckon. I think Ollie will start pretty well, but then I think the lack of signings might start to hinder them. And also, I think largely, I mean, this might change if they get Sancho, by the way, but as it currently stands, I think United will be good, but then they'll start to have a bit around winter where they're not really sure what's going on, and I think they'll have a little bit where Ollie's kind of lost, kind of confused face will come back and they'll be like, what's going on? What should we do? And he won't really know what's going on. I've got a feeling they'll struggle around the winter months. And Spurs, I think, will just manage to sneak around sixth. I think Jose will get him around there, which obviously, of course, means Leicester have massively dropped off. But I've got a feeling Leicester will drop off this season. I don't think they can match what they did last year, personally. Wolves could easily be in the top six, by the way. I think Wolves will be around there, but I'm going to say Wolves will just be outside. I think Leicester will just be outside as well. Everton will be challenging around the top 10. I'm not sure if they'll reach the top six, personally, but Everton under Ancelotti will be a much better team. Elsewhere in the league, in terms of going down, West Brom, I think, will go down. I think West Brom will personally struggle. Fulham will probably struggle. I've got a feeling then someone like West Ham could really struggle. I think West Ham, I don't know, I've not got a good feeling about West Ham at all. Villa has an outside chance. Brighton got an outside chance. I think Newcastle will be fine. I think they've made some smart signings. Steve Bruce will do all right with them. Ryan Fraser, kind of Wilson, Jamal Lewis, they're actually decent, pretty signings, so I think they'll be all right. They're the kind of signings that I imagine they'll actually do in pretty good stead. And after that, I don't know, the mid-table, like Sheffield United will drop off a little bit this season, unfortunately for them. But that's what my top six is anyway, if City win the league, if City get Koulibaly. So I'm going for City. Come on, be positive. In terms of the domestic competitions, 4 in a row, baby. We're going to win the Carabao Cup. I'm going for City to win the Carabao Cup again because I think that's where our squad depth will come into it big time. So I'm going for City to win the Carabao Cup. It's happening. 4 in a row Carabao Cups. Is it even called the Carabao Cup this year? I don't know. By the way, I'm going for City to win it. And then FA Cup. I think, presuming we'll be in the latter stages of competitions, I think we might slip up in the FA Cup here. I think this is because of a Premier League title chase. I think we'll go out in the semi-finals and we'll struggle, unfortunately. I think we'll go out in the semi-finals after a good run and lose to like someone like a Chelsea or something like that, I reckon. But I think we'll go out, unfortunately. The Champions League, I can't ever be positive about the Champions League. It's Manchester City, for crying out loud. It's never good in the Champions League. But what I will say is I think we'll do better this year, and I think the players will put Pep under a lot of pressure to not mess things up. I actually think once we get to a game in the latter stages, Pep will play something pretty normal. I think he'll play something pretty normal. I think the players will say, can we keep it simple? Can we go for what we know? And I think we'll actually get to the semi-finals. I think, unfortunately, we'll go out, but it'll be a good game and we won't be too frustrated. I think we'll go out to someone like Bayern and go, do you know what? They were just good. Fair play. But we could also go further. I would not be surprised if you went further. It depends. It's hard to say at this moment because it's a cup competition. You never really know. But my predictions for now is a semi-final exit, FA Cup semi-final exit, winners of the Carabao Cup, the only thing that matters, of course, now, and then Premier League winners. It's positive, it's bold, but they are my predictions. But guys, that is my prediction. That is my season preview. It's the longest video I've ever recorded on my own talking about football. I hope you enjoyed it. I've gone through absolutely everything I could possibly think of. Let me know in the comments what you made of this, and don't forget as well to hit that subscribe button. Also, these guys scrolling down the side of me here, absolute heroes. I can't even begin to describe them. The Patreons and the YouTube members, I fucking love you all absolutely loads. I'm doing this full time because of you guys. You guys exist and support me so I can actually do this and record on a Friday. I sat 2 hours recording this video, and I spent an hour writing it as well. And because of you guys, I can do that. So thank you so much for all your support. I love you all loads. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you are new to the channel. There'll be loads of content, watch-alongs, previews, reactions, academy stuff on this channel in the coming season. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. Like this video as well. Let me know in the comments all your predictions to everything and what you make of this video. I love you all absolutely loads, and I'll see you for a watch along on Monday, of course, of the game, and of course a preview tomorrow for the Wolves game. I'm tired. It's a long video. Hope you enjoyed it. In a bit.